What's happening, team? What's going on? All right. Make sure I record. Make sure I record for this one. All right. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Just wanted to go through, had some questions on some inquiries on the protocol, the pro protocol. So I'm going to share a quick little slide deck for you guys, but you guys will be just listening on the back here. Share my screen. Oops. Oh, that's cool. All right, we have the Day 1 Den by FighterFitX. Movement Science. Moving with Precision. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, so basically, having the Day 1 Den specialist assistant coach on this one, right? So I may have explained this before in previous recordings, but being a what's the word I'm looking for? Being a student myself, looking into other coaches' apps or their approach to their remote coaching. I found that there were certain things that were lacking, and that I would like to have in my approach to remote coaching, and having now the access to implement a program that has customization. So basically, I can put in and update information inside the Day 1 Den Specialist AI app to incorporate expertise and knowledge from for example, the one I use is the NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and their global gold standard. So basically, I put this information inside the brain, so to speak, for the Day 1 Den specialist. So we have proper science backed information and program design to make sure to facilitate the coaching process, to make sure that you guys and gals are working out safely, and that we do have certain things addressed in your program, right? So the National Academy of Sports Medicine sets the benchmark in sports medicine, providing trusted protocols for evidence-based training and safety. So yes, don't get me wrong when I say this, right? Me being a personal trainer for 16 years and teaching martial arts for the past 21 years, I may have an approach, or I may have been instructed by an outdated model that may have been more prone to injury based. Also, too, so it is evidence-based training and safety. So, for example, let's say nowadays I'm hearing a lot of people saying that being having in the world of AI and content creation, and the avenue that certain influencers are taking is more so, okay, I've done this is my journey, so come along with me on my journey and figure out how I have the results in my fitness, in my sport, and all that, right? So that is great. Yeah, it's awesome that you went through it, that I went through it. And however, we need to have certifications, or we need to have evidence-based material, training, and safety that I have as a personal trainer, to make sure that I can coach, that I have the knowledge, and the information that I'm gaining the knowledge from is recognized globally, is recognized internationally and nationally. All right. So for example, I live in Canada, BCRPA, or I took the American College of Sports Medicine certification. Right. So it's making sure that the people that you are listening to, who are your coach, that they have the credentials, that they have the necessary resume, so to speak, of working with clients, and making sure that they have a trusted protocol and it's evidence-based training and safety, right? So the NASM here, their protocols are built on peer-reviewed research and scientific data. This means every movement strategy we implement in the Day One Den is backed by musculoskeletal science, understanding how your bones and muscles work together, neuromuscular efficiency, training your brain to communicate better with your muscles, injury prevention, identifying risks before they become setbacks. So it is having these in place of, for years. You actually know, even when I was at when I was at a big box gym, we would do the face the mirror or face the wall overhead squat as a indicator of hip alignment, posture, um, flexibility, right? So they, at that time, scientific based and also peer reviewed research was saying that to execute a face the mirror squat in an overhand position, it was a healthier, or no, it was the benchmark to have as to test our athletes or test our clients, right? But now when we do that face the wall or face the mirror squat, once your hands are overhead, best you can by being like an inch or two away from the wall or the mirror, you want to execute that overhead squat. But now, fast forward, when you look at this move, the hip, the PLHC, pelvic lumbar hip complex, anteriorly tilts, so that can break the kinetic chain and actually improve, or not improve, sorry, it may highlight more of an injury position for the overhead squat. But at the time, though, a lot of our advanced trainers and the research and the certification people that were in charge of these research studies were telling us as trainers to use the overhead or face the wall or face the mirror squat as a new protocol. But now they took that away because it's actually more prone to injury, right? So it's having the research backed by world life or worldview or world-based research studies, right? So having that musculoskeletal science, neuromuscular efficiency, and injury prevention. Right, so why does this matter to you as our Day One Den members, as our clients of FighterFitX? Right, so when you follow a program based on the NASM standard, you aren't just exercising. You are following a professional grade roadmap used by professional teams, NFL, NBA, MLB, and top tier physical therapists to ensure peak performance and longevity. Right, so the OPT model prioritizes safety and results through tailored training phases that enhance performance and minimize injury risks. So OPT is Optimum Performance Training. In NASM, integrated model used to progress a person through stages of stabilization, strength, and power. So you want to have this as a pyramid, so to speak, or a basis or a foundation that's built upon stabilization first, then strength, and then power. A systematic approach to human movement. The OPT model is a comprehensive training system based on science research. It is designed to progress any individual from a desk worker with sitting disease to an elite athlete through a series of levels that ensure the body is prepared for the next challenge. All right, so level one, stabilization. Focusing on correcting muscle imbalances and enhancing joint stability, layering a strong foundation for future training. Right, so making sure that you are aware of the power position for a bent over row, that you are aware of your foot placement and knee placement and hip alignment for a squat or an overhead press. Are you hyperextending during that overhead press? Do you have flexibility in both left and right for doing a shoulder press, or protraction or retraction of the scapula for a bent over row, or even just for posture in itself. So it's understanding these movements or these biomechanic joint angles and um, muscle execution. You want to make sure you have that as a stabilization, so you understand and know what you are doing in a given exercise. Right? So the foundation is correcting muscle imbalances, improving joint stability, in a side plank, in a front plank. These isometric holds can strengthen that rotator cuff, the clamshell or fire hydrant, or a supinated glute bridge, feet elevated, press into your heels. We're understanding what a single leg balance glute bridge can do, or perhaps doing a hamstring curl on a physio ball. So it's understanding these tools and the movements of the specific muscle and joint, and to correct joint stability and to correct muscle imbalances will definitely progress you in your sport or in just everyday living. All right. So, and of course, too, the foundation is increasing proprioception. So your brain's ability to sense your body in space. So remember, I touched base with this before, is when we used to do our kata in martial arts, we would do a number of sequence of moves, but we'd also close our eyes and see, we would perform the moves and, perform the moves, and we were supposed to be in line in a certain position when our eyes are open, perhaps a capital I for a certain kata. But now, closing your eyes and performing that kata and seeing where you are at the end of it, at the end of the martial art demonstration, seeing where you are. So basically when you take away your eyes and you do a single leg balance, I know we were working with the 7-day sync last week by doing there was a 3D analysis. So the 3D analysis, one part of the assessment is your balance with your right and left. So standing on one leg, raise your right knee to hip height and you're in a hold. And the 3D analysis kind of it assesses the shift placement in your hip, the flexibility in your ankle, and making sure that the hip shifts is not too much compared to the other side. But having this body-brain ability to sense your body in space is understanding where you are and how you are controlling your movement. So if you take a look at a throwing in or executing a right hook or a power punch, we talked last week about the kinetic chain, making sure that we are understanding or we are fully aware in executing this jab or the power punch or the power hook by pivoting off the rear foot, by sending that kinetic chain up from the foot to the hip, and the hip to the shoulder, and of course through the fist through that power punch or hook. So it's understanding and being aware of how you are performing this exercise, how you are performing a squat. Are you bracing your core? Are you going to a proper depth? Also, a proper depth for your femur length. People with longer femurs and shorter femurs will have a different range in their squat. So it's understanding where you are placed in that continuum, or where are you placed in that status. And of course, fixing, stabilization is, fixing the desk warrior, right? So from working at the office, making sure that you are fixing your tech neck, that, your head is in that forward cervical flexion position from looking at our phones, or even having our home setup, office setup for the monitor, right? And fixing the tech neck, fixing that mid trap or lower trap tightness. And of course, too, since if we are sitting down all day, your hips might be in an anterior tilted position, may result in tight hamstrings, right? Or disengaged hip flexor. So how can we address this? By doing a couch stretch, perhaps, by doing a seated leg, focusing on that hip extension. So if I'm sitting down, one leg bent, feet on the floor, pretend this is my hip, this is my foot. From the hip flexor, I'm going to raise my leg with a controlled manner, with my heel and toes up towards the ceiling, strengthening that hip. I remember when I first started doing this, my right hip, for the longest time was always agitated or irritated. I would feel it for the roundhouse kick. I would feel it even sometimes when just walking. But once I started strengthening in addition to stretching, once I started strengthening that hip flexor by doing the raises, by doing abduction movement in a horizontal plane in that seated position, I definitely felt better. Now, also with the 3D analysis, my right internal and external rotation of my hip, it was definitely needs to be improved upon. So again, I added in my morning routine, I do my banded around the ankle, internal and external rotations now. I also, bring the bands with me to the gym and making sure that I do a proper warm up. Yes, to get the heart rate going, but also too for the joint and also the flexibility of the muscle or flexibility of the joint angle itself. Okay, so to make sure that I continue, and as I grow older into my, mid 40s, I want to grow. Can you see that? I want to grow better. And for the people here, I want to grow better, not older. All right. So making sure that I keep my joints healthy. I keep uh, my muscle and tendons nice and pliable and flexible, and making sure that I am not stiff, that I don't neglect my glute training. So if I want to perform my 10K run, I want to make sure that my glutes are firing properly by doing a glute bridge, by an isometric hold, by doing my clamshells, by making sure that I, incorporate my band training for my hip. Right now, of course, and once we have that stabilization, we want to go through our strength component, level 2. This phase focuses on developing lean muscle and enhancing explosive movements, leveraging stability for optimal performance gains. The engine, building lean muscle mass and increasing the ability of the muscle to produce force over time. Right? So the strength phase is developing lean muscle and enhancing explosive movements, leveraging stability for optimal performance gains. So once we have that foundation and once we are aware of the muscle mechanics and the proper angle that the joint should be in executing these exercises, then of course we can add that external resistance, either through body weight, through dumbbells, kettlebells, um, making sure that when we make impact on the heavy bag, and of course our shins, when we hit the heavy bag, we want to incorporate making sure the joints and tendons are good to go when you are making an attack. And again, making sure that when we are hitting the heavy bag, we are hitting with the middle and index finger. And another thing, I was watching this fantastic trainer, this boxing coach, fantastic stuff. I've been watching him for years. And, there was one part he was talking about, is when just in regard to biomechanics. Okay. So now, once you're going, he was referencing a hook, and he was saying like, you want to have a 90-degree angle for your hook. And then you might, I myself, I even taught this movement pattern just for a brand new beginner, is having those hands at 90 degrees. Now he was saying, he was recommending, okay, when you go for that hook, when you go slap someone, your hands here, but your elbows down, and you're kind of coming off on an angle. I forgot, I think he was trying to say to either for speed or for catching the opponent off guard, perhaps. And it was great to hit that approach to it once you are fully aware of having that solid foundation of knowing how to hook. Now, I remember years ago, I was working the heavy bag, and my hooks are pretty solid. I have the body weight behind my hook. Now, ideally, you want to be nice and loose, and as soon as you're going to make impact with the jab or the hook, that's when you contract the muscles. That's when you tighten everything up. Years ago, when I went for a solid right hook, my power hook, I didn't engage, I didn't tense once I made impact. And then once I made impact, my bicep freaking shot up in pain so fast. I was freaking out that how painful it was. And I was talking to another gym goer at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I just, I did a hook and it freaking hurt. He's like, do you think I tore it or anything? He's like, no, if you tore it or anything, you would you would know this is probably just an impact thing. So what I'm trying to say is the biomechanics. So when I tell my clients, when you hook, you don't want to hook and make impact with your elbow down, because once I hook with the elbow down, all that power is going to be into my wrist. I might buckle my wrist, palm down or facing towards me. But once I have that elbow higher, when it's cranked up for that power hook, that impact, that force distributes to my body instead of just to my wrist alone. Or in this case, when I didn't contract properly or in time, that's when I hurt my bicep at the time. So when this boxing coach was saying, when you go for a hook, have your hand down, like you're going to smack someone from here, but having your elbow down. And of course, once I do that, it just, I know where he was going with it, but just for a biomechanical muscle position or an action or the angle of executing this hook, it may be more detrimental to the joint or to the muscle. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say with that, is with the proper progression from foundation to strength to level 2. Slide 6. So power. So level 3 is your power. Once we have that foundation, once we have the proper understanding of using the muscle in a given situation, or when you're executing a hook or a power slap shot, perhaps, then we can go for power. So the velocity, teaching the body to produce the greatest amount of force in the shortest amount of time, right? So we have a specialist case study here. So the leaky foundation. So picture a 35-year-old entrepreneur with chronic low back pain who wants to start a hardcore fitness program, but they're like, you know what, enough is enough. I'm tired of, being inactive. Like, I want to take control of my life again. Like, perhaps I'm 35 years old, I want to be like when I was, when I first started personal training at 26, 16 years ago, I want to be that person, for example. Right? So the common mistake is they jump straight into phase 2, the strength phase, or even phase 3, the power phase. They do heavy deadlifts and high intensity burpees because their core isn't stabilized yet in phase 1. Their lower back takes all the load, right? So the result is injury within 3 weeks. Yes, our day one energy, our day one motivation to say to yourself, enough is enough. I want to get active again. So I'm going to join my friend into his or her high intensity workout class, or I'm going to go into, straight to deadlifts and burpees and sprints and hill sprints. And I don't respect the stabilization process or the phase 1 process of making sure that I create a body that can adjust to the workload that's being asked or it's being required to perform these exercises. So these deadlifts, and making sure my low back is tight, then I got to make sure I do proper clamshell, and I proper do hip and glute activation, making sure my low back and pelvic is good in position. But understanding that first. So if you don't understand that stabilizing component, and we jump into these straight powerful lifts, definitely the low back, the shoulder is going to take a negative impact, right? So the specialist approach, our approach, the day one den, FighterFitX, is the sync to sync. So phase 1, we use the 21-minute specialist block to stabilize the pelvis and activate the deep core, the pillar, the deep core, right? And then build in phase 2. Once the data from their 3D scan, your 3D scan that we use, shows the spine is supported, we introduce resistance to build strength. Now, not necessarily introduce, but the step is understanding the foundation. Where we need to be addressed is that deep core muscular system. Also, to having that mindset of going through, even though I want to do really well in this upcoming tournament, I'm not going to overdo myself. I want to have the proper recovery, the proper nutrition, the proper sleeping habits, the positive influence in my inner circle. But also, once we have the data from the 3D scan, having my internal rotation or my abduction of my shoulder is tight compared to my left. So I got to make sure I do my chest opening stretches. I want to make sure that I do my wall angels. And also too, to strengthen the rotator cuff in a side plank or a mini band or a large band exercise. And then once we have that data, in addition to working our core, now we can excel. In phase 3, we can perform explosive movements without the glitches that cause this pain, without the working with the pain or working around it. All right, so we tackle the whole foundation of your body, to making sure that once you do perform these explosive movements, you are in a better position. Like I mentioned this before, when I was so eager to start a fitness challenge, an online fitness challenge that was based in the States. I'm in Canada. And, I hurt my right hamstring. I was doing a jump front kick. And I know that jump front kick is an explosive movement, but at that time, I was, like 161. I think I was 183 at that time. I was heavy for my stature. I was heavy and very deconditioned, right? So me jumping right in to phase 3 when I didn't respect the phase 1 component. Right? So the 21-minute standard, right? Building out how to approach this online coaching. I want to make sure that it's not just a PDF or just a video sequence of moves and exercises, even though, yes, they are phenomenal. There's thousands of coaches doing this format. We have this format, but it's not the main driving factor. So the 21-minute standard, right? So efficient blocks enabled targeted workouts that maximize fitness results in a compact time frame. Making sure that 21 minutes, making sure that we incorporate the warm-up, we do the 3D movement warm-up, that we have the strength component aspect to it, that we use the NASM protocol of the gold standard and the OPT model. All right, so starting with a 5-minute warm-up, focusing on spinal articulation and joint mobilization to prepare the nervous system, right? And then we move into a 10-minute performance block. This is where we integrate the kinetic chain using movements like 90-90 switches. Performance block, this is, remember, the day one den specialist. You can plug in the information that's required for that given workout, but we have a framework or a protocol designed for pre-game workout or pre-game body warm-up, the performance block, and of course the corrective component at the end, or the restoration block. This is where you use diaphragmatic breathing to down-regulate the nervous system. By following the scientific sequence, we ensure you leaving the session feeling restored and ready for the next session. All right, so there we have it. So that is the day one den specialist. All right, okay, we went through that one on the reasons why, using the OPT model, using the having the NASM behind the approach of our design, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and of course American College of Sports Medicine, but using the Optimum Performance Training, OPT, Optimum Performance Training. All right, and what else I wanted to show you guys? That was the OPT model. Quick little slide deck. That was a quick little slide deck of what the DOD specialist, the day one den specialist is, and how you guys can use that in your into your weekly activities and your weekly program design workouts, your program workouts. And am I sharing this? I think I'm sharing it. So we have the classrooms in there. The 7-day sync course breakdown is in there, so you guys can take a look at that. Another thing too, we have another announcement is we have so in about 4 or 5 days on Sunday, February 15th, we have our part 2 of our Fall in Love with Fitness Summit series. right? So date your health. The landing page, the information to register, everything is all set up and it is live. And definitely, guys, come through on this one. We have some awesome speakers, coaches, artists, dancers, perhaps also too, I think, community program facilitators on board, right? So that is on February 15th there is some more time slots for speakers if you guys want to come in and speak from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. All right. And let's see here what I wanted to share. What I want to share again. Yeah, so landing page, view page. Yes, we have the summit. I want to share on the window. Date Your Health. There we go. Date Your Health Summit. All right. So February 15th, we have the Date Your Health Summit. It's about a half hour per speaker. Has some questions. All right. Secure spot. So basically, just sign in with your first name and email. And then you will get once you fill that out, the next page will be you are on the guest list. So basically, it will be on a YouTube unlisted link. So once you sign up with your name and email, the second page, the thank you page, will have you will set a reminder to click the YouTube on the date for the February 15th. And of course, making sure that you set my email, ryan@fighterfitx.com, as a safe sender so you get the updates as we go through. And of course, with the speaker application form also is on there. So application form, basically, yeah. So anyways, just the form for speakers out there to, who you are, how can people get in touch with you, right? So we have name, last name, your company, organization that you work with, email, your proposed topic, right? Of course, what city you're coming from, what city that you're tuning in, that sharing your knowledge, expertise, and your wonderful information that you want to share with us. And the first one that we did, the follow-up with Summit, the first on my birthday there, it was fantastic. Even though we had some issues on some some technology on my end, it went fantastic. I absolutely loved it, right? So, in touching base on, it's just great to have talking to other coaches and speakers and people of influence who are making their community better by their expertise or by their passion projects. It's great to see, because I know there's so much stuff online that can be sidetracked and can force someone down a negative mindset. And to combat that is you want to incorporate, or you want to exhibit or put out there more positive kindness, and making sure that that's what you want to silence that negativity with positivity and with a passion and heartfelt action in our day-to-day lives, and highlighting other speakers and other people that are trying to make this world a better place. Right? That's what that's what I love about it, and that's why our first summit was. I love the first summit. It was great. Yeah, I talked for quite a bit on this one today. So the OPT model, day one den specialist, and to fall in love with fitness, fall in love with fitness, date your health summit, February 15th. And for you guys and gals, the link, I believe there is a link in there's no link. I'll update it so you guys can register for that one. It is free. Now for the replays, of course, that will be inside the day one den. You guys will see the replay access to it. And of course, you've seen our Fall in Love with Fitness, the first one, how I break down, or I further expand upon the knowledge and coaching material, and incorporate it into what we can do inside the day one den with that material by honoring the speaker's knowledge and, keep making sure that we are using that information to improve our lives through their coaching. All right, share screen. Stop that one. Be healthy, guys. Be cool, be safe. Catch you on the replay. And bye. Back to school. OPT model, Optimum Performance Training. Day one den. Make sure you guys come on board. Wow. Day one den by FighterFitX. Now I also too, when I record on here, like I can't see comments or anything like that because I'm using my phone, but really I'm using a secondary monitor on the back of my phone. Anyways, but yeah, so be safe, guys. Be safe, be cool. Bye.